So I've been playing a lot of games of Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And here's what you're going to need to know. This game is an auto chess mode, which means you draft a board of characters and then they automatically battle against opponents using their skills and abilities whichever way they're programmed to do. It includes every character in the game and they have their full kits from the actual game itself, so it's a little bit more unique than some of the other ones which usually had a more limited style of play. Between rounds, you get a choice of upgrades for your team, and these upgrades will apply to your entire team based off of whatever the upgrade is supposed to give. And occasionally there's going to be special rounds which then gives you a powered up ability for one of your characters. This game's quite a bit of fun, but it has some glaring issues that we're going to go over later. So let's talk about the game itself. To start off, you're going to be given a choice of characters. You're going to get a limited subset of availability, and you're going to have to build a team off of this. It's pretty safe when you're starting out to go for something like a 2-2-2, grabbing 2 tanks, 2 duelists, and 2 strategists. But your strategies and how you're going to play the game are going to change as you get more familiar with the characters and what they do. There are definitely some characters that are better and characters that are worse, and you're going to have to get a little bit more familiar with it, and things are probably going to change over time. I see the devs doing a lot of updates to this throughout it. After you place your characters, you're going to have a first buy round. These cards are going to pop up, and they're going to be able to give your team different benefits. They're going to have a cost in their corner, and you're going to have made up money throughout the game. You can click the reroll button to change which characters are available for you to buy, but you're not going to want to do that on the first one. Starting out, check out what cards are available here and see if they apply to your team. On your first playthrough, I'm going to highly recommend you buy purple cards. Because you're running a 2-2-2, the purple cards are going to be the most powerful, and all the other card styles are going to be a little bit weaker. If there aren't any purple cards, you don't have to buy any this round, and you can save up. Now once you have your team selected, you're going to want to set up your board. You've got a 4 deep, 6 wide section of the board, which is your side. And you're going to have to place your units across here, so they're going to be able to engage and deal with the enemy team who's coming from the opposite side. You're going to want to put your tanks up front, making sure that they get the first start of threat. And then you're going to want to position your duelists and healers in the back line, spreading them out or clumping them up, depending on which ones you got. Loki, for instance, is going to want people to be clumped up around him as he does those green rings, and he can heal up all targets nearby. Where someone like Iron Man or Hela might want to be further away from the team. You're going to want to be careful with characters like Magic or Black Panther who dive into the enemy ranks. You want to make sure that somebody else has gained threat before they engage, so you put them slightly back so that tanks first get the threat from the enemy team, and then these guys can dive in and do their job without getting immediately focused down. So you're going to have a basic battle against Galactobots. This will be really easy, you'll clear them up, and then you're going to get a special power for one of your characters. 3 are going to show up, and you can reroll once to get a different 3. There's definitely a hierarchy of which ones of these are good and which one of these are bad, and you're going to have to get a little bit more familiar with that, and again, things are probably going to change. Right now, things like boosts to attack rate are massive, as well as the boost that gives Venom increased bonus health whenever he ultimates, giving Penny and Rocket more spider mines or respawn beacons, as well as giving Loki more clones. These ones are really powerful buffs. There's quite weaker ones like Punisher getting extra smokescreen or the Thing getting a better knockout punch. Both these are not nearly as strong, and you're going to want to try to gravitate towards some of the stronger ones once you get more familiar with which ones are. After this first round, you're going to get another buy phase with a couple more cards. Again, look for some purple ones and pick them up if they're there, or hold off if they're not. If there's a card in the shop that you really want, but you can't afford it, or you don't want to go down below the current amount of gold that you have, you can hit the lock button. This will add locks to all the current cards, and it means after the next round, these will be the cards to select again during that next round. This can ensure that you can get cards that you want that you were missing out on. Why you're holding off is because of the interest system. When you're buying cards, in the top right, there's a little exclamation mark, and you can check out your total income. You're going to give income from a passive 15 per round. Then you're going to get income based off of your interest. That's going to be 10% of how much money you currently have. So if you can save up to 50, you're going to gain 5 extra money every round. That's a free card. You have to hold on to 50 sitting there that you can't spend, but then every round from then on, you're going to get that free bonus card. Next up, you make money based off your current win and loss streak. If you're on a multiple losses or multiple wins, you're going to gain increased money. Now, if you don't like losing early on, or if there's always good cards popping up, you can definitely use a spend strategy and just pick up cards that are relevant. But don't do too many rerolls unless you're over that 50. Next up, you're going to be placed against one of the other players, and you're going to have your characters battle theirs. You're going to see what kind of strategies build up in your lobby and what kind of characters the different people in your game are playing. This is going to get you an idea of what you should keep, what you should change, and how you're going to go forward in the match. After you finish this round, you're going to have another buy round, and it's going to basically be a repeat of this. A couple of rounds against players, and then a round against Galactobots, and the ability to choose new buffs for one of your characters. Whenever you lose, you're going to lose a little bit of health. You start at 50, and you lose a small amount at the early stages, and as the game progresses, you lose more and more HP after each loss. Once you run out of HP, you're eliminated from the game. In the match, outside of placing your characters, there's only two ways that you can impact the game. You have both an E ability and a shift ability. Your E is going to do a one-time burst of healing to your allies. You're going to want to be paying attention to when your characters get low HP and try and pop this to save their lives. The shift ability is the opposite. This is a one-time blast of damage onto the enemy team. And again, you're going to be wanting to use this to execute enemies. If you just use it early on, all the healing that occurs in the game is going to happen way too fast, and it's just going to heal off the damage. You're going to have to wait until one target on the enemy team is really low health, and then blast out that shift to try and eliminate them. Taking out one character is huge, and it's going to really shift the state of the battle. Getting more and more comfortable and familiar with this is going to be how you're going to win more games. Taking out a critical character or saving one of yours at the right moment is really what makes experienced players quite a bit better at this game than the new players. Now let's talk about the cards a little bit. Cards are going to be set up into one of four categories. Blue cards buff your vanguards, red your duelists, green your strategists, and purple will get you a buff based off how many different types you have in your team. Because of the nature of this, it really encourages you to build teams that are all one composition. And you're going to see that quite a lot right now in the early release. I don't know if they're going to change this, and I definitely think that they should, but right now doing things like all tanks or all duelists is really the meta, because every card you're buying is applying to your entire team, and it just makes such a difference. So that's kind of why I recommend the purple cards in your first play, because you're doing a team of 3 different roles, and then making sure you constantly pick up cards that apply to your entire team is really beneficial. They're going to have a star progression on them based off how many times you pick them up. They're also going to have a quality level from basic to rare to legendary. Basic cards you can pick up 6 times. They're going to give a very small buff. Going to be something like reduce enemy healing, reduce enemy damage, increase your damage, or the 2 really powerful ones, increase your rate of attack speed, as well as increase your ultimate efficiency. Your characters each have a yellow bar beneath them, and this is their ultimate bar. When this gets to the full, they'll perform their ultimate ability. Increasing ultimate efficiency increases how fast this bar fills up, and is one of the most important stats because ultimates are really going to be what wins you the game in the end. Each of the characters' ultimates are super powerful in this, just like they are in the regular game, and you're going to want to get off as many ults as you can to secure that win. While some of these buffs might not seem very strong, as you accumulate lots of them, it does make a big difference. And the massive amount of healing in this game, reducing healing received is huge. Purple cards come a little bit later in the game, are quite a bit more rare, and you can only pick up 3 of them repeating. And finally, legendary cards come much later in the game. You can only pick up each one once, and they're really powerful buffs. As you pick up more of the same card, there's some buffs that you can get. If you check out on the left side of the screen, it's going to list out each of the different card types and have a number out of another number. This is going to give you a buff depending on how many of the same card you've managed to get. As you get more Vanguard cards, you're going to give your team boosts of bonus health. 10 Vanguard cards gives each of your characters 120 bonus HP, 20 cards gives them another 120, and then 40 cards gives you 240. For Duelists, 10 cards increases your damage by 12%, 20 cards, another 12, and then 40 cards does 24%. Strategists is 12% healing at 10 and 20, and then 24% healing at 40. Then purple cards, for each unique role on your team, you're going to get 20 bonus health and 2% damage and healing at ranks 10 and 20, and then a boost of 40 bonus health and 4% increased damage and healing at 40 cards. On the right side, you can see the current state of the game. Where players are at in the ranks, and how much health they have, their current win streaks, and how much money they're hanging on to. You can hit the 2 key to switch over to see the stats of the current round. This is how much damage, healing, and block each of your characters have done. This will allow you to keep track of what your characters are up to, and which characters are working. At the end of the round, you can check out this sheet to see which characters are effective. My Squirrel Girl and Namor did some great amounts of damage, and both my tanks were blocking the right amount. Everything here seems to be generally working, so I'm pretty happy with it. Now, if you don't like some of the characters you got, or you want a different hero, you have an option to be able to swap them out. As well as if you bought cards that you end up not liking, you can sell those cards. In the card shop at the top, you have Select, and then you have Activated. Going over to Activated is going to list all of the cards you've currently bought. And if you click one of these here, you're going to sell that card and get a portion back for what you purchased it for. If you end up picking up a card and then ending up not liking it or accidentally clicking a card, you can always just sell it in this page. Then if you want to change up a hero, you can go to change heroes. This will allow you to spend 5 credits to get your choice of a Vanguard, Duelist, or Strategist. Similar to the starting page, you don't get access to all of them. It is going to be a subset. And if you don't want to choose any of these, you can hit cancel, but it still spends your 5 credits. If you want to fish for a specific character, you're going to have to keep going into the purchase tab and trying to get that character to show up, canceling out, and then going back in. As there are much stronger characters than others, this is recommended to do. And as your composition changes throughout the game, you're going to want to be going and fishing for characters that is going to fit your composition better. For instance, I start most games off right now with 1 tank, 1 healer, and 4 DPS. Later in the game, I want the tank to swap out to something like Magic, who can do the tank role as a duelist. And then around the end of the game, I swap out Loki for another duelist. That's just because of how strong the duelist stack is right now and how much quicker the games go playing as all duelists. I like it to go a little bit faster, and I win quite often with this comp. The reason I don't go 6 stack right off the bat is because it's actually pretty weak and quite often going to lose you games. You need a lot of the cards and several of the specific character buffs to start being effective with this composition, so I like to make sure that I'm playing a slightly modified version early on that'll get me a couple of earlier wins and keep me in the game longer so I can get to that late game stage. Team-ups do exist. All of the existing team-ups in the game are available, and as you pick characters that have team-ups, those characters are going to activate those abilities. Again, some of these are way stronger than others. Rocket's team-up with Penny is really strong. Where like Hela and Thor doesn't really seem to come up very often. Once you start getting kills, you tend to win the match anyways, so getting a res on somebody that's died doesn't tend to come up very often. If your Thor's died, likely you're losing that match and you don't get any kills, so you don't get that resurrect. Alright, so what are the glaring issues with the game? First up, it's really long. It's like 30 plus minutes if you're going to win a match to be able to play through it, and it's at least 20-ish minutes if you're losing. That's a lot of time investment, and it can be a real grind to get through. Number 2 is the issue of just stacking the same type is really oppressive, and it can be kind of unfun to play against. If your enemy team is just running full tanks and you try to run any other composition, for the most part, the full tank comp is going to end up taking over the game and winning pretty reliably. The same can be said for the full duelist comp, which is a little bit more reliant on the proper cards, but still a really oppressive force that can melt through most strategies. I think they're going to have to do a slight change up to this mode and change how many characters can give you the benefit from each of the different card types. Making it so that the cards say each duelist does this up to a maximum of 3 or something like that to make sure that you can't just have the 6 stack comp. Even just say even do a maximum of 4. I think 4 is fine. If you want to run 1 healer, 1 tank, and 4 DPS and run a heavy DPS squad, I think that's perfectly good and it should be encouraged to be played as. But this whole 6 stack just isn't that fun. Third up, some of the character-specific buffs need a significant improvement. There's wild discrepancy in power between them. Getting the increased attack speed on Hela is going to be so much more likely to get you a win than getting something like the increased punch on Thing, and it's a wild discrepancy in how powerful some of the different moves are. I would like them to try and figure out a way to consolidate the power of these a little bit tighter and make it so that it's a little bit more fair when you're picking these up, and it feels like each one of them is actually a good choice. Right now, if you get both of the Things bonuses, it's actually the wrong move to make because the one increases how often he's charging and the other encourages him for spamming his punch more. If he's constantly charging, he can't spam his punch, and these just don't work well together. It doesn't feel good. Next up, we don't have access to our emojis. Not being able to spam emojis in this mode really doesn't feel that fun. Emojis were a huge part of other auto battlers and a great way to be able to interact with other players. Right now, our only real interaction back and forth is the chat itself, as well as just trying to shoot at each other with our little Ultron bots. Speaking of shooting, you can left click as your Ultron bot to unleash a blast, but this doesn't do anything. It doesn't do any damage, it doesn't help the fight at all. It does give a kind of damage indication when you're shooting an enemy, but it doesn't actually apply anything. I basically just use this to shoot at the other player to get their attention. I've been having fun with this game mode, although it's not something I'm going to want to be playing a lot. I would actually like them if they were to be able to turn this into a phone game that you could access and be able to play this on the phone. It becomes something I'd play a lot more often when I'm not able to go and sit down at the computer. But right now, I'd rather just hop on and play 2 to 5 games of Rivals in the amount of time that it takes me to play one single game of this game mode. Let me know what you think about Ultron's Battle Matrix Protocol. Is it a fun game that you'd like to play more of? Is it frustrating and you're not really having that fun? And did this guide help you out? I'm Zesty Fresh with Sons of Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Zaze.